We're back, people. What is up? Yesterday, obviously, did not go the way we wanted. Dolphins, in pretty typical Dolphins fashion, fell apart in a cold game Monday night. In prime time, did not play well at all. Uh, both sides of the ball not playing well, in my opinion. Defense played well in the first half. Second half, they fell apart, and the offense was pretty bad, pretty much the whole game until garbage time, I guess. Not putting too much into that, but yeah, now we're officially into draft season. It's here. What just happened? Um, okay, we're good. Yeah, but let's let people get in here. I mean, I don't know if there's really anything to break down film wise this week that we haven't talked about before with a lot of the Dolphins struggles, because it's pretty much the same struggles that they had earlier in the season for reasons they lost. Um, Maybe I can do some on some individual players. I mean, I think the rest of the year, now that they're like officially eliminated, I mean, last night was the official elimination. They were basically eliminated a while ago because of how they started, and also just things did not go their way. Like other teams they needed to lose, like they were all just winning. Even if they won out, it was like such a low percentage chance. But yeah, now in draft season, officially, probably going to start doing a lot of draft content. So keep an eye out on that. I think stream wise, I'm going to start streaming every couple of days, maybe every few days. And I'll have like 3 to 4 guys that I'm going to watch that I haven't watched yet. And I'll maybe let you guys know, and then I'll watch them, and then I can just come for the next stream and can break down certain guys in depth. We'll go over like position groups, still talk Dolphins and things like that. And then Dolphins film breakdowns for the rest of the year. I'll probably just do like rookies, or maybe just younger guys in general, guys that like maybe stand out, just guys that I think will help for the future. Because I'm not too worried about like the results at the end of these games anymore, because now they're officially out. I'm more looking at individual players and stuff like that. Uh, um, actually do something with my Sundays moving forward. I mean, I will still be watching, but yeah, I won't be as devastated with losses. It was really just the start of the season. You could have a game like last night if you weren't so like genuinely like just a bad team early on with their start. But we'll see. I think the rest of the season will play out, and we're gonna add a new GM, and then we'll decide what's going on with the coach, the quarterback, what those decisions will be like, because they have some tough decisions ahead. I don't think they need to necessarily rush into those decisions. You need to look at every sort of outlook. If there's better options, can you even move on? Things like that. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at with this season. Trying to but yeah, we'll go over some draft prospects. There's some people who officially declared, like yesterday. Um, whereas Jacoby Lane, wide receiver USC, Kamar Ramsey, USC safety, Michael Taft, safety from Texas, Antonio Williams, wide receiver Clemson, Cage Casey, Boise State tackle, and Devon Claiborne, running back from Wake Forest. Also some interesting. That right tackle from Arizona State, I can't pronounce his last name, but I will be watching him soon. He got accepted. He just accepted his Senior Bowl invite. So, what's up, Sawyer? But yeah, definitely not fun to watch that game last night. Also, there's people always ask about quarterbacks, potential quarterbacks, and the Dolphins are not in a position probably to get the top one unless they wanted to trade up, which is unlikely. But I have been starting to watch more quarterbacks, and I did a deep dive yesterday on Darian Mensah, because there was a report, I believe yesterday, it might have been the day before, but there was a report that he is considering declaring for the draft. He's either going to stay at Duke or declare, because he got some good feedback from the people at probably Busto, that teams might be high on him, and I'm watching his film, and I would not be surprised to see him go somewhere in round one. I don't think he's going to be a high round one pick, but I would not be surprised to see him go like mid, late round one. He's going to be looked at as like a day two guy early on, and I think that makes sense. But I don't see him too far behind a lot of the top guys. Like I could see him being like QB3 in this class, depending on which guys end up declaring. But there's a lot to like with his game. Like I think he has a pretty good feel for the game from like a mental standpoint. I actually think like I've seen him throw with anticipation. Pretty good decision maker as well. Like I think he knows how to like manage the game, like throw the ball away. Those types of things are very helpful. I think he's got a pretty good physical skill set, like decent enough size, pretty good athlete as well. I think the arm talent is pretty solid. Like he can make a lot of plays like off script. He kind of has like that baller type of play style as well. Sellers is staying in college. Yeah, Sellers definitely needed to stay. And Mendoza was probably gonna be gone by the time the Dolphins pick anyways, so it's not even have to worry. Like I think this QB class, there's a few players I could see being solid, but I don't think any of them are gonna be like stars or great. Like Mensa gives me some Jordan Love vibes. That's kind of who I feel like watching him. I think his pocket management's really good, which is a trait that it translates really well to the next level. Guys that are like calm in the pocket, play with poise, and just like the subtle little micro movements to just extend the play or give yourself a better window. I think Mensa does a pretty good job with that stuff. He also has like good stats that usually you want your QBs to have, like with like your touchdown to interception ratio. It's like 52-11, something like that. Lots of yards. He's a very accurate thrower as well. I think especially his deep ball accuracy is very good. Can make layered throws. He has like the touch ability. Yeah, just like maybe slight raw inconsistent at times. Just needs maybe a little more experience. But he would be a guy definitely. Like if there was a guy that like you're telling me to take a shot at, and you're not getting one of the guys that's going to go super super early, it would be Mensa. But yeah. And then just going back to last night's game, there wasn't really any positive takeaways to have. I mean, some of the players, had decent games, like Jordan Brooks, Rasul Douglas, defensive side of the ball, but I had a feeling Rodgers would give them. Rodgers just had good success against them lately. Even last year when he was playing for the Jets, he had pretty solid games against that same exact defensive scheme, and they really picked up in the second half. And I think just the biggest problem with the defense was tackling, specifically the safeties. I don't know why Ashton Davis and Melifano are playing so many snaps. They were pretty bad last night. Like Dante Trader's got to play, especially at this point in the season. You're officially eliminated. Dante Trader's got to play. They also need to bench Nick Westbrook-Akine because of the potential comp pick thing. I don't know why he's playing. Like that's just stupid. Like there's no point for him playing because you can potentially lose a comp pick if he plays like any more snaps at this point in the season. None of that makes any sense to me. But yeah, we're in draft stuff, so might start doing mock draft Mondays again. Maybe I'll wait until the season's officially over for those, but I mean if there's nothing to break down on Monday, I might as well start next Monday, but yeah. Probably need to watch some more prospects before I can do like a full on mock draft. But I've been going through. The Dolphins have a lot of needs. They're going to need a full on revamp. I think both sides of the ball are going to be different. I think the defense has done a pretty good job for the lack of talent that they have, especially lately. But they definitely need to add more talent to that side of the ball. And then offense, they need help for sure. And then that really just depends on what they like. Offense really just depends on what they do with like coaching and quarterback. Like it's hard to say exactly what they should do. It really depends on what they do with McDaniel. If McDaniel stays or doesn't stay, that kind of will tell you like what the plan should be on the offensive side of the ball. But there's some good position. I think DBs is pretty strong in this draft class. Like I like the corner and safety class, which is good. I think the Dolphins need to add to their secondary. They got some decent play there from veterans, but those guys are not long-term pieces. So I think adding secondary will be pretty important. And there's a lot of guys to like. Two of the film breakdowns I just did actually are Chandler Rivers, the corner nickel guy, I think is good, and Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. And then there's some top first-round guys. It's like Mansour Delane, Jamad McCoy, Terrell. Arguably, maybe those are probably like the guys for sure. I really like Chris Johnson. He's going to the Senior Bowl. He's a San Diego State corner. I'd love to see retrospect on your last year mock draft versus where players are performing so far. Well, I did a lot of mock drafts last year, so it could be tough. There was definitely some mock drafts where I was like pretty close to what the Dolphins drafted. I think if you like mixed them up, I probably got a lot of the picks, but mock drafts are usually more so not about exactly what I would do, but Sadiq, yeah, Sadiq would be interesting to me, especially where the Dolphins would be picking. I think what? Let me check. Actually, are the Dolphins what like the 11th pick after last night's loss? I think that's probably the area they will stay. If I had to guess, um, I'm looking it up right now. They went up to 11. So I think before last night's game they're at 13, but with the loss they went to 11. And yeah, they can. The only problem is the team at 10 is only one win behind, but the team at 9 is 2 wins, and there's only 2 games left. So they're probably not going to get much higher than that. They probably could only get to 10 if they lost most of these like remaining games, but I don't even think they'll lose out either. So they'll probably stay in that 11 to 13 ish range, which is not bad. Like I mean, you can still get good players there. And honestly, I don't think that's a bad place to be if you want one of those like non-premium position players that's just like really good, like a Kenyon City or a Caleb Downs, or maybe the top guard, something like that. I think that just depends on what the new GM is like, because that will be interesting about this new draft. Is we in the past I've had a pretty good feel for the types of players and exactly what oh, pull this up. What Greer looked for, like what he valued. So that is something that will be different about this upcoming draft. We don't know exactly what he will be, the new GM, whoever is looking for. So that will be interesting. Yeah, I think the defense side of the class is actually pretty good. Like linebacker is strong, very strong class. Corner safety, I think, is good as well. Edge and D tackle, I think, will have some question marks, but I don't think the Dolphins maybe need as much help there. They definitely can't ignore it, but I think the back end is more important for at least the future of the team. Um, then offensively, I think the tackle class is pretty weak. There are some guys I like, so if you want to tackle, you're gonna have to be very sure, and they're probably gonna go pretty early because it is not a strong class, so people might feel the need to reach. I think the guard class is pretty good. Tight end is not as strong as last year, but there are some players I like. I guess it just depends on the players. Running back class is weak, which is not bad. They don't really need running back. Receiver class is pretty good, which is receiver class is always pretty good. And the Dolphins should add a receiver. Don't need to necessarily add one super early, but they should add at least like try to get a wide receiver too. But yeah, let me see what your guys' questions. What do you think of Bain for Miami? I like Ruben Bain. I think Ruben Bain is my edge one. I don't love the rest of the edge class. Like I think he's pretty much set himself across as the edge one. Unless you consider Arvell Reese, the Ohio State linebacker, an edge, he's someone who I could think teams might play at edge. But I think Ruben Bain's a guy who should go top 10 in this class. I think he's going to be a good player in the NFL. I think we're going to keep Dulcich, learn how to spell his name. Yeah. Dulcich, I like Dulcich. I think the tight end room for Miami has actually been pretty solid this year. Like when Waller's played, obviously Waller's played well. Dulcich has been a pleasant surprise pickup, and then Julian Hill is probably playing the best football of his career. But I do think if the Dolphins want to potentially elevate their offense, and that could help both their passing and run game, is trying to get a stud tight end. Someone that can, if you can get someone that can do what George Kittle does for the Niners. Now, obviously, that is very difficult to find. George Kittle is like almost a one of a kind, but that would be something. I think that's something that could really elevate the offense. Could that be Sadiq? Could you find someone on day 2 like an Oscar Delp who can, at least do somewhat of that? I also have watched a lot of Eli Stowers lately. If you want an F tight end, if they want a tight end that can just like help in like the receiving game and be like a yak threat, Eli Stowers from Vanderbilt, very productive player, makes some nice plays. Like down the field, he can be a seam threat. I think he does a good job of getting ground quickly. Can make some acrobatic catches. Can run some routes. I also think he's got good yak ability underneath to get him the ball in his hands. Not going to be like an inline guy though. But I think the Dolphins should be looking for all types of tight ends in this class. I don't think it's like one or the other. Like they can, or they can get a guy that can do a mix of everything. I think it's all on the table this year. Sonny Styles. I think Sonny Styles might be the best pure off-ball guy in this class. Hold on. Okay, give me 1 second, guys. I actually have to meet up. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. But yeah, let me see what you guys say. Yeah, I was talking about Sonny Styles, right? I think Sonny Styles might be the best pure off ball in the class. Like he's not some like if Dolphins took like if the Dolphins are picking in the middle of the first round, like around where they're at, maybe a little bit later, or a little bit earlier, whatever. Like Sonny Styles, I would not be mad about. I think he's real good. Um, he's a former safety. Like when he got came into college, like he was a former safety. I think he's one of the safer prospects in the class. Like I don't think he has any major weaknesses, but he's lengthy. I think he plays violent versus the run. He did not miss a single tackle this year versus the run, which I think is very important. Big guy, lengthy. I also think he can do some good work in coverage as well. Like he can carry and match down the field. He's a guy that I think would actually mesh really well with Jordan Brooks if they wanted to go in that direction. He also can take on offensive linemen, shed blocks. I think the difference between him and Arvell Reese is just a better pass rusher, and I think Reese is like just a freakier athlete, stronger player. But Sonny Styles is super consistent, and he's been getting better as this year's gone on. So I think Styles is a very safe prospect, and I think he's going to go first round somewhere. I mean, it's obviously early, so I can't guarantee that, but it just seems the talent drop off from pick 5 to 20 is not that high. Yeah, I think there's actually a lot of first round level players this year, and I think the difference is there's not a lot of high end first round players. Like literally, it's like Arvell Reese is like one of the freaks of the class that could go super high. Then there's some quarterbacks that will go super high, but they're probably similar level prospects to the guys that are going to go out 15 to 20. Yeah, I agree. This class is pretty consistent. That's why. Are there any edge rushers that you like? They're going to be available 11 that you would think would be good across chop? Yeah, I'm not. From what I've seen so far, not really. Not super early. I don't love the edge class, and some of the edge classes that I think are edge players that I think are could be pretty good in the NFL. They're more like chop than anything. Like you mentioned, David Bailey. He's more of a pass rusher. Like he's a guy who will be like a designated pass rusher earlier in his career. And I think Reuben Bain Jr. would be the guy that you probably want to have opposite of Chop. And there is a possibility Bain could be there at 11. But when I look at this class, I would probably guess he wouldn't, because I think he'll go before that, just due to stuff. Right, of the two ends I like early. I like Reardon a lot. I have not watched the Wyoming kid yet. I have him written down. But Reardon is one that I plan to do a film breakdown on. Because from what I've seen so far, because he's a big body guy, and I've seen some things that I like, and I think that translate well from the tight end position when it comes to blocking, and then also ability for to find soft spots versus zone and be reliable. But yeah, you think the Dolphins will love David Bailey? I think it's just too early to say, because we just don't know who the GM will be, because the GM will really tell us this story, what these guys like. Messidor, I haven't sat down and just watched Messidor yet. I have obviously noticed him when I was watching some other players, and he seems like a guy, obviously not as maybe traits wise, but he seemed pretty productive and a guy that can get the job done. But I don't have a full on opinion. I'm gonna start really, now that the season's officially done, I'm gonna really start diving into draft prospects. And then in the stream, I'm going to be trying to cover people each week. And I'll probably just put out videos of maybe top guys the Dolphins should be looking at each position, this position, and, position groups, kind of do things like that, do the mock drafts. Obviously, I'm going to try to have draft film breakdowns. I've had some trouble with copyright already. I've had 2 videos get blocked. I've never had videos get blocked before, but my Kenyon Sadiq video and Makai Lemon video both got blocked. And those are on my Substack, if people want to subscribe to the Substack. It is $5 a month for the film breakdowns, but you can also be a free subscriber too, and you'll get random updates and random. I post cut ups and stuff there, just the cut ups, highlights of players. I've started doing that. I see many mocks with Kendrick Falk. Do you have any thoughts on him? Yeah, he's the guy. To me, he's a day 2 edge that's getting pushed up to round 1. He's a guy that I think should go later than where he's going initially. I think he's just raw. I think he's got a lot of, like he's the physical traits. He's the bigger body edge. But I just don't see him being a super productive guy at the next level. He's never been that kind of way either in the NFL. But he's a guy. He's kind of like remember like Michael Williams last year, the coming out of Georgia guy who was like a better run defender, wasn't a super productive pass rusher, kind of like that. But yeah, he's not someone that would super excite me in the first round. But he did also declare recently. But he's got good like size, length, athleticism. I have not talked about receivers yet. We can talk receivers. I like the receiver class. I know receivers isn't like the biggest need for Miami, but there's some good players. Like Carnell Tate's my receiver 1. Then Tyson at 2. And then I love Mekhi Lemon, wide receiver 3 for me. I think all should go first round. I wouldn't be surprised if like a Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson both go top 10 in this class with how this class is shaping up. Also like a Jeremy Bernard, I think Chris Bell just got hurt, which is unfortunate. Casey Concepcion, I think is pretty good. Jacoby Lane just declared. Denzel Boston's a receiver if you want some size. But yeah, gonna start really deep diving this class, which I'm excited for. You're asking about the Oregon defensive tackle? Oh, Amari Washington? Yeah, I watched a little bit of him recently, actually. Where's my notes? I do need to do more of a deep dive, but I did check him out. Okay. Where's he? I'm trying to look at his size. Yeah, this is like, he's a big guy, right? Definitely a very powerful run defender. Yeah, I like Casey Concepcion a lot as a player. I'm not sure if the Dolphins are looking for that type of guy, because he's more so of what they have, but he is a baller. Yeah, he's listed at 6'3", 330, very like powerful interior guy. Oregon's had a lot of defense tackles recently. I know they had like Harmon last year, plays for the Steelers, he played last night, and then Jamari Caldwell, who I liked a lot last year, he's actually been playing pretty well for the Chargers. But yeah, I think he's got some good traits, the size, and I think he moves pretty well. Like I think his initial step is pretty nice, powerful player. I think he'll be pretty good at the next level. I don't know where I think he's going to go yet. Probably going to watch a little more, but yeah, I do think he's one of the better D tackles. Yeah, McDonald is also one of the better D tackles. Same with like the Clemson kid. What are your thoughts on Anthony Hill from Texas? Anthony Hill is a weird one. He is. Oh, there's just certain things that I look for at linebacker that I don't think he's quite there yet, that I think translate really well. But he does have some things, and some of the things I think he does is like a rusher that is super intriguing, like pretty athletic player, man. But he's like one of those toolsy raw guy, Definitely has some nice range, but I think I prefer different style players usually at linebacker. Who would be y'all's first round selection position? Name anything. I mean, it's so early, but I mean, honestly, like, if I had to, like, I'll give you some names for me that, like, if the Dolphins were picking, say around 11, say they're picking 11 where they are right now. These are names. I'll give you names that I would be totally okay with at this point in time. There will probably be names that I add to this eventually, and there will probably be names I might even take away if I, find out more information. One would be Caleb Downs. I think Caleb Downs is just one of the cleanest prospects in this class. I know he's a safety, but like to me in this class, if I watch this class and if I had to pick a player that you're like, this player could be a future All-Pro, who would I put my money on? It would probably be Caleb Downs. Like he would have the best chance. Like he's just so clean, and like at 11, when he's probably a top 5 player in the class, falls a little bit, I'm all over that. Is Penn State interior alignment a first rounder? In my opinion, yes. I think so. Yeah, Bryce Lance. He's Trey Lance's brother, right? I think so. But then also, I would throw in. Honestly, I have a couple corners I'd be okay with. I think Monsieur Delane I would be all over. And I know he missed all season with an injury, but Jermod McCoy is so good. Like, I might be okay with that. We'll see when we hear more information about the injury. I would also throw Sonny Styles in there. I wouldn't be mad with Sonny Styles, to be honest. Guy's a stud. Yeah, Venga Ioane, the Penn State interior lineman, I'm okay with. Spencer Fano, Utah tackle. Might be a little early for the rest of them, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see some of these guys rise up throughout this process, like a Blake Miller from Clemson or the Arizona State right tackle. I wouldn't be surprised if those guys end up going first round somewhere. Probably not as high where Miami will pick, but those guys end up going rising in this class. Same with the other Utah tackle, Lomu. I would be okay with Kenyon Sadiq, I'll be honest. I think the Dolphins have desperately needed a all-around tight end like that. I think that would help out the offense so much. Then, honestly, I would also be okay with a Carnell Tate, Ohio State receiver. I know receiver's not the biggest need, but I'm all about best player available, and I just think the Dolphins need to be taking BPA because they have so many needs anyways. And they'll have a lot more picks this year. They need to be drafting well across the board. And this is a draft where you need to be focusing on more than just 1 year in the future. Yeah, let me see. Monster to Lane, Caleb Downs. Yeah, those would be home runs in my opinion. If we go wide receiver round, who is the best friends? I would say Tate, then Tyson. I love Mekhi Lemon. I think Mekhi Lemon is that guy that's just going to be a very solid NFL receiver. I don't think that's the type of player the Dolphins should be looking for. He's a smaller guy that will probably be located in the slot, but I think he's going to be an Amon. I could see Amon-Ra St. Brown type of player. Guy catches everything, does everything well. Probably one of the safer prospects in the class. I think Carnell Tate and Jordan Tyson, value-wise, would make sense at 11. And then Tate would have a little more size, and he's also just super explosive. I think he's just the best receiver in the class. And then I think it's probably too early for any other receiver in the class, Steven. We should go get Eli Stowers. I would love an Eli Stowers in a round 3 area. I really like Eli Stowers. But that's if you're looking for an F tight end. Busy. Honestly, I would save the corner position for the second or third round because the corner position is deep enough. We can wait. I understand that perspective, but I think it just depends. If Delane's there at 11 and he's best player available, I'm not missing on that. There are some other good corners to take, but I just like taking BPA. But it also depends. So yeah, Lemon is a lot like Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's to me, he's the Egbuka of the class, the St. Brown of the class. He's a little bit smaller than them too, so but they were not the biggest prospects, but maybe not going to be the greatest athletes, biggest guys, but they just are good football players. Would you bench Tua the rest of the season and see what Ewers can do? I would not be against that at all. That they're officially eliminated. I don't think the Dolphins will do that. Here's what I do want to see, which I think is a possibility, is they keep Tua in, and we've already seen the Dolphins, when they are a run-first team, can be very good. And I know this is probably not going to happen either because McDaniel's coaching for his job. I would do what they did at the end of the Steelers game and just go spread offense and just let Tua play loose and see what he can do. Give Tua these final 3 games and just let him throw and do whatever he wants and stop making him do the more anticipatory play action reads and let him just play loose like that and see what happens. I think it would be very interesting. Because you could also maybe raise his, maybe he would play well and you could get someone to desperately trade for him next year. But I would be interested to see what happens there if they did that. Because we know the run game is how they should be playing to win, but we're not really winning, losing doesn't necessarily matter at this point. Tyreek has been a big loss this season. I mean, not really. Tyreek's obviously a great player, but the Dolphins' offense was... I think losing Tyreek obviously hurts the passing game. Definitely. but it made the Dolphins change up their style of offense, losing Tyreek, and that actually I think made them more of a winning team. So I think it just depends on how you look at it. But I do think the Dolphins need a receiver next to Waddle, and it needs to be someone that kind of fits that play style. I do think Malik Washington is actually a solid player. I just think the Dolphins are not throwing the ball. And I think Malik Washington's a wide receiver 3/4. And he's more of like a slot guy, but they don't throw the ball anyways. And if they do throw the ball, it's to Waddle or Waller, or they throw like play action down the flat to like the tight ends or stuff, like Dulcich. To Chris Johnson. Yeah, I like Chris Johnson a lot. Chris Bell. I think the problem is Chris Bell just had a pretty big injury, didn't he? So I think it's tough to rank him. But he's probably he would probably be like an early round 2 receiver if there was no injury. Like Quinn Ewers. I mean, I'm not against playing Quinn Ewers. I don't think they'll do it. I do think this though, if they do take 2 out of the game, Ewers should be the one going in, not Zach. I guess they could play both. Like maybe you play Zach one game, Ewers the other game, but like I'd rather see Ewers. I feel like you would gain a lot more like understanding of who he is as a player seeing Ewers. But who knows? A guy like Anthony comes from Baltimore. I think he would prefer. See, I don't think they care too much about like the size and length thing, maybe as much as maybe we think, because the corners for Baltimore aren't like that huge. And Delane is just so good. And a lot of the corners of this class, I don't feel like a lot of them are huge. A lot of them are like, there's some decent sized guys, but someone like that are like crazy size that I'm like, oh, those guys are studs either. Is Sadiq less valuable if you move off McDaniel? Most likely, yes, but it also depends on. It just depends on who you would bring in. I should draft Taylor Green. I'm not a huge Taylor Green fan. I would go for, if the Dolphins are going to go for a quarterback, I think I'm going for Mensa from Duke. I just watched the Mensa film and I like me some Mensa. I watched a lot of Mensa film yesterday. I mean, I don't think anyone's expecting Ewers to be that good. I think they just want to see if he can give you anything. Did he just announce it? Like right now? Because I know there was a report yesterday saying that he was still deciding. I don't know. He probably should stay, but he is considering entering the NFL draft. That's the last report I saw on him was he is considering entering the NFL draft, but he might stay at Duke. He struggles to throw on a rope too many moonballs. Who, Ewers? I mean, yeah, I would agree, but we haven't really seen him play at the pro level, so people can develop, get better. He also, I think, one of the reasons, like I was not a huge fan, as people know, of Ewers' college film, but I think a big reason for that is Ewers did have some injuries that I think definitely hurt some of he had that shoulder thing that I think definitely hurt some of his film in college. So maybe he's healthier now. Maybe we could see something different. You never know. Too many no Tua. I mean, yeah, he's definitely, to me, I've seen people talk about the physical regression of Tua, and I do agree he has physically regressed. But to me, the bigger problem with Tua has not been the physical regression; it's been the mental regression. I think decision making's been his biggest issue this year. Because last night, I know it was garbage time, but Tua made one play in garbage time where he broke a tackle off of a sack, and I'm like, "Where's that been?" Like that play doesn't like obviously there was a lot of plays like it's clear that garbage time was what affected the positiveness. But there's one play where like he just broke a tackle. I'm like, what? He stayed on his feet. I'm like, they every other time that's happened this year, he would have gone down. Yeah, Sorsby was another one who would have been intriguing, but yeah, he is also. Yeah, I believe he's. I think they announced he's hitting the transfer portal, but he is still maybe considering the draft. But he's more likely to transfer somewhere else. How do they get off? I mean, if they can get a trade partner, that would be the best way to move on from Tua. But that's I don't know. I also don't think it's that bad to keep him, but then if you do, you gotta at least get something in there competition wise. Free agent, draft. It's the problem is there's not great options. Is Mensa your choice for a stash for 2020? That could be a long shot start for 27. In the draft, probably. Davidson. I mean, I watched some of him, but I didn't necessarily think safety when I watched him, but I don't know. I'd have to watch him again and keep that in mind. You know what's crazy is when we just talked about Darren Mensa and I opened Twitter, the first thing that popped up on my For You page was a Mensa comment. Like that's dude, they're listening. Interesting. Hmm. What QB are you looking at for 2027? Oh man. I don't know. I'd have to see the 2027 NFL draft QB prospects. I have to see who's even available. See, I don't even know if any of these are that exciting either. Like a Julian Sane from Ohio State. I mean, Arch has been improving. Maybe Arch with another season could be someone interesting. See, I don't like the whole Dylan Raiola thing where he literally like is a Pat Mahomes clone is so weird to me. I wouldn't be surprised if Ty Simpson returns because he did have a slow end of the year. But yeah, I just don't know where Ty Simpson's going to go at this point. I'm not like completely out on Ty Simpson, but I think taking him early is definitely not what you should be doing. Sellers, yeah, I guess. Day three QB. Yeah, Robertson on day three is interesting to me. I didn't really love his film, but day three I could get behind. I'm trying to think. What are their day three options? I mean, I don't even know what some of these guys are going to do. The only one I really feel like is gonna declare is Mendoza. I feel like everyone else is like up in the air. Maybe I know Cade Klubnik, the Clemson quarterback, really struggled this season, but he did get better as the year went on. He's going to be at the I think he's at the Shrine Bowl this year. I wonder if he'll be an interesting day three prospect because he was one of the higher people coming into the year, but then had a bad season. But he does have some trades to work with. I wonder if he would be like a day three dart to throw. But I don't know. I don't feel too good about any of those options. Obviously, day three guys typically don't work out. Oh no, yeah, I agree. C mid danced. I agree that we don't know exactly what the Dolphins will be doing because we don't have a GM, and we also then like if the GM comes in and keeps McDaniel, we can still have a pretty good idea of what they'll try to do, of what players they'll try to add on the offensive defense side of the ball, especially if Weaver's still here too, like just because of their coaching style. But having a new GM and they bring in a new coaching staff, everything's on the table. They could do anything, and I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, I think the coaching thing is still very much up in the air at this point. It really depends on how they finish, I think, these final 3 games. Because the Steelers one, not super surprising because, the weather, but after that loss, you can maybe have it that one, but you cannot have it back to back like that. I think they got to be able to. I think they need to show fight for McDaniel to stick around. If they don't show fight, then I think it's over. Just thinking from Ross's perspective. At this point, eat that 2 contract. I want to see him throw one more ball. I mean, it's definitely a possibility. I don't know if they will though. Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm gonna start watching some new prospects, get an idea on them, and then next stream I'll talk about the new guys that I watched, and then I'm gonna start. I have ideas written down of like videos to do because now with the season kind of being over, there's not as much of a point to break down the Miami Dolphins film. I'll still do some Miami Dolphins film breakdowns on like the rookies and stuff and guys that are still going to be here next year. And like in the off season, I'll do guys like that too. I'll probably wait a bit. I don't think there's anything to do this week. I'll do NFL draft film breakdowns. I will just have some videos like this instead of streaming where I'm just talking to camera and like I'll do maybe like rankings of prospects or like guys I think the Dolphins should be looking at. But I'll probably wait a little bit on that too, just in case for the coaches. I think they've shown enough fight to keep McDaniel, in my opinion. I mean, yeah, I'm not against it, especially because I don't love the coaching options outside of McDaniel. It's just I don't know what would necessarily change next year. Who am I rooting for now? I don't know. Probably just I typically just root for underdogs, I guess. And like game to game. Let me look at. Let's see. Would be an interesting team winning it all. Not them, obviously. I'm rooting for Chicago to fail because Chicago fans have been super annoying. Uh, Obviously not Buffalo. Texans would be interesting. Uh, no, no. Honestly, I feel like the Jaguars would be a good underdog story. I like watching the Rams play. No reason to keep Tua starting, not one except pay. Yep, but that is a big reason that they might not be able to move off of him. And the other big reason is they might not be able to get another QB. Now, obviously, if they can get one, you get one, but it's still very far out, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. I don't want Texans to win. The more they win, yeah, do we have their third? Yeah, we have the Philly third. Um, it also looks like we're going to lose our 4th-round comp pick because they keep playing Nick Westbrook-Akine. I don't know why, and I also don't know why they kept playing Melifonwu too, because Melifonwu is already over the threshold. I need to see Dante Trader playing more. We're doing it with the D tackles. All 3 rookie defensive tackles are playing snaps. They're all playing pretty significant snaps. I want to see Trader. I don't think they'll play Marshall, but I wouldn't mind seeing more Marshall. I don't think Marshall will play unless there's injury. He might play some nickel, but it'll be spotty. What else? I also wouldn't mind seeing more like Jalen Wright to end out this season. See if you feel confident about him as the backup. Yep. Ryder, where are you on McDaniel? I would say I am kind of in the middle right now with McDaniel. I don't love many of the coaching options outside of him. I think there's a lot of positives that McDaniel has, but there's been those same consistent issues throughout his whole tenure that kind of just hold him back from reaching like that really like good level. Like he's just like it just feels like he's been like right below where you need him to be. Um, to a post June 1st cut. I mean, maybe, but it's not super helpful. Like it's still like a huge dead cap hit. It's the problem. Is a cap situation there. Do you think procedural issues are Tour or McDaniel issue? Like getting the plan on time, I think that's more of a McDaniel's issue. What really bothers me about Tua's bros losing and playing bad. He has the biggest, cheesiest smile. Yeah, I mean, more of my problem is just the playing bad. I don't really care if he's smiling or not. I just want him to play good. I just think the decision making's been the biggest issue with him this year specifically. McDaniel got away from heavy run quick. I think the problem is not necessarily that we went away from it. I think there was a couple instances like the Tua interception, that 1st and 10, like it's a horrible play from Tua, horrible play. But like I don't know why we wouldn't run the ball in that play. But outside of that, we just didn't have snaps. We weren't on the field. We didn't sustain any drives. It was like once the first down play failed, if they passed on first down and it failed, or if they ran on first down and that one gained nothing, it was just over. Like so, I just feel like we didn't even have the ball to run or pass. And then obviously once we sustained some drives, it was garbage time, and then they were obviously going to throw the ball. McDaniel cannot scheme on a short run play. Why do the Dolphins not have a tush push package? Like look at the Steelers last night. They don't run tush push with their quarterback. Why do we not have someone? I don't know who it would be that you could put in there, like Ingold or something. Put Ingold under center and push him. Um, because like look at the Steelers. How many times did Steelers run tush push last night? It was their first touchdown, and they ran I swear they ran it like 8 times. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen that Grand talking about the Tua didn't train with like his typical trainer. I mean, that definitely could be a reason for uh regression, like the physical regression. But I also think it's just been like the mental regression. Like I've said, the mental thing is what I think has really brought down his play this year. Behind the scenes, I just want to get better. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything about behind the scenes. I mean, I could ask him. um, yeah, yeah. They could release Tua, but from a salary cap space, to me, it's not necessarily about whether they release him or don't release him. It's just they need to add someone somewhere. Now, how are they going to do that? I do not know. Uh, Free agency or draft, we'll see. Yeah, I agree. I think it's time for that to go. Um, yeah, I think unless you guys have any final questions, probably gonna end it here. We're now in draft season. Ugh. Who's your favorite QB in the mid rounds? My favorite QB, like that's outside of the first round right now, is probably Darian Mensa. I've mentioned him, but I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up going like day 2. And I've seen worse QBs go day 1, but who knows? But he also might not declare that he still hasn't declared. That's the big thing is that we don't know who's declaring. Most of these QBs have not declared. A lot of them are underclass. You know. Yep. Draft season. I mean, to be fair, I love draft season, so I'm not even that mad about it. And it was easier to get to this point because it was kind of, we were having on a win streak, but we were on a win streak, but we were still expecting, obviously, not to make it because the odds were so low. So it was like one of those things where uh, didn't really feel that much of disappointment. I really think Sawyer Robertson is a real deal. He could seriously turn us around. I probably have to watch more of him before I could think about that. I didn't like his film last year. I know he's played better this year, but I watched his film in the offseason from last year and it was not Tua for Shuck. I don't think the Saints are looking to trade Shuck. Shuck's actually been playing pretty well for them, at least as of late. Yeah. All right, will you do a vid on your top 10 Dolphins players this year and maybe top 10 worst players? I'm planning to do some Dolphins videos that are kind of like that. That are like, I was gonna go through like each position group and kind of give my thoughts over them, like kind of rank them and guys who I think should be here next year and who shouldn't. I don't know. I'd take Rattler. Hey, Rattler is an intriguing dart throw. Actually, that is not a bad shout for like a younger-ish player that would probably be moved. Like I actually do think Rattler is like for a backup pretty solid, and he's someone you need to start. Like not the worst option. So, and I do think I know there's all the stories about Rattler when he was younger in high school, but I'm pretty sure he's matured. I honestly think Shuck is better than any QB in the draft. I mean, I liked Shuck's film last year. He was the main problem with Shuck is he was in college for 7 years. He was like 26 or whatever. Can you tell us what vids of college for us? Yeah. The current ones that are members only right now are Arvo Reese, Benga Ioane, Emmanuel McNeil Warren, and Chandler Rivers. And I think the next video I was going to make is on Chris Johnson, the San Diego State corner. I think so. I had 2 vids get blocked, and they were both from the Big Ten conference. I think Big Ten, right? USC and Oregon, both from the same conference. So I'm trying to see if it's only that conference that's getting blocked. If it is, then I'll have to avoid that. And then all those videos I'm gonna do are gonna be on the Substack. So if you want to see all the draft videos, they're on the Substack. But I'm gonna try to get as many on the YouTube channel still. But I don't know what's gonna happen with copyrights. I can't promise. Tyreek Hill. I think they move on from Reek. With this last loss, did you do Dolphins players stock up, stock down? I mean, stock down almost everyone. Stock up, it was like Razul, Jordan Brooks. I don't know if anyone else really stock up. Stock down, all the safeties. Stock down, pretty much the whole offense. I guess minus like Achan, Waller. Because they didn't really get a chance to do stuff till later. Garrett Nussmeier should be there when we pick. I mean, if you want Nussmeier, you can get him on day 3. Saints are in cap hell still and cannot afford to. Yeah. Well, I mean, to get Rattler, you don't necessarily need to give him to you could just try to get Rattler for like a day 3 pick or something. It wouldn't be the worst shout in the world for like a bridge quarterback for a year. Plus, he's young, so maybe you get lucky. I don't know. Ever once kid or luck is blessing it. I was going to say Nussmeier. I'd send 3rd pick on draft day for Shuck. Like the 3rd round pick or 3rd overall pick? Why would the Saints do that if it's 3rd round? And why would any team trade the third overall pick for Shaq? Yeah, I don't think Nussmeier will go late. Dude, Nussmeier's film is hard to watch this year. I don't know. I could see him being like a backup. I mean, the Saints just drafted him in the second round, and he's probably been playing better than expected. So I don't think the Saints would do that. Yep. Okay. What about Dante Moore? I really like Dante Moore. I just think if he declares, he won't be there for Miami. If Miami wanted a Dante Moore, they would probably have to trade out. Uh, but if Dante Moore was there at 11, I would 100% take Dante Moore. I actually think he'd be a really good scheme fit for McDaniel as well. Um, and I like his film. Would you unload Tua for Kyler? Not if McDaniel's here. I think Kyler is like a really bad fit for McDaniel scheme. Sam Leavitt, yeah. I don't think Sam Leavitt Levitt will declare. He needs a lot of work still because he's just playing backyard football out there. He's got some talent, but yeah. Yeah, I think it's, I don't know. I mean, I hope Mendoza goes first overall just because of that, but yeah. Yep, I like Mensa. Mensa's interesting. I don't know if he'll declare or not, but can we get a film breakdown? Because people are saying Steelers were in prevent defense, but I didn't see that. I wouldn't say they weren't in prevent defense, but they were playing a different defense. I think the major difference late in the game was the Dolphins just played looses. Like they just went more loose and took some shots, and it worked out. 3 first rounders and a third for Burrow. Yeah, that's risky though. He has a huge injury history. And just from his interviews lately, it sounds like he doesn't. He's not even. Sounds like he wants to retire just from hearing him talk. Yeah, I mean Dolphins have a ton of needs. So come will Skyrocket do is compared to Mensa plus. I mean, I'll have to watch him this year, but I don't know. We'll see. Ollie Gordon. I mean, he just hasn't had. He really is just used in short yardage situations, and like he had 1 carry yesterday, and he had no shot on it. I mean, at least for me, like Ollie has been what I've expected. I think some people overrated Ollie like as an all around back early on. Uh, like I don't think he's gonna be like that big play guy like maybe people thought he. I remember people were saying he should take over for Adrian like this. He just doesn't have the explosiveness to be like a full on number 1 back like that. But I do think he can play his role like as a 6th round guy. I think he's been pretty solid. Thoughts on a line in general this year? Good run blocking. They are not great in pass pro. They get a lot of help other than like Paul. Paul's good in pass pro. They got a lot of help from like the scheme and stuff. But they did their job. Carson Beck, not a super huge fan of that in the second. Is there a way we can draft a winning mentality? I mean, draft a winning mentality. I mean, you can change up your culture with a draft if you get the right guys who are like hungry for football. Okay. Yeah. I think that's everything. Thank you guys for watching. I will